What is up, my viewers? Spang here, bringing you yet another World of Tanks gameplay commentary. It's the reason you come to my channel, the main one anyway, and it is going to be another replay submission from Never Aim with his buddy Minnow. I didn't realize these guys ran together so often. That it's kind of encouraging to see that my buddies, well, you know, my fans are kind of platooning up together. I don't know if they were buddies before my channel, but they certainly are now. And it's going to be in the medium of the heavy tanks, the IS-8. And it's not really, that's pretty much how you have to play it. Fully upgraded, it really is meant to be a little bit more of a medium tank than a heavy tank. Not super bouncy armor, but it still can bounce from time to time. Its turret armor definitely very good. And its speed, as we see here, definitely reaching a good top speed of 54 downhill, and its acceleration not too bad either. I enjoyed my IS-8 back in the day. It was certainly a good vehicle. It has the same exact gun as the IS-4, and so it's got a little bit of punch to it, definitely. But I mean, that's the case with most fully upgraded tier 9 guns. And right here, looking to possibly get a shot off. It's probably suffering from the same little threat. Oh, hello. Almost shot an ally there. Just enemy team really probably going to take out the T-25/2 very quickly. That enemy, what looks like a Type 61. Again, it is still post-deployment catch-up, but it's also post-operation day 3 as well. And so my eye's still healing as well. I'm doing my best to be productive and not just sit in bed all day trying to wait for my eyes to recover. Trying to get a little bit of commentaries done so when I get back home I can record them all, but still, the enemy team looking like they're trying to take kill, but unfortunately not getting there soon enough. Looks like Never Aim's team was able to get it. The question is whether or not they'll be able to hold it. And Minnow holding the other part of this map, the other important part, which is that city. The enemy team doing a somewhat odd push up the one line. Not a bad move. It's actually quite good, as they will be having cross shots on Never Aim here if he does not fall back, and he is well aware of that, hence why he is falling back to the position he's in. And because the enemy team did push up that one line, they actually may be able to take kill. This was probably the exact move they needed to do. However, they've already lost 3 tanks, although I don't think any of them are anything significant. That T-54 being the biggest loss, the 110 not super huge, and a scout tank. So nothing significant considering it is a tier 9 match with a lot of tier 8s and quite a few tier 7s actually, a surprising number of tier 7s. Which versus a tier 9 tank, a tier 7 is kind of cannon fodder. It's not useless. Don't get me wrong, it's not useless, but a tier 7 versus a tier 9, 1-on-1, the tier 9 is always going to come out on top. Tier 7 versus tier 8, it's a little more even. But in tier 8 versus tier 9, it's definitely a lot more even. But a tier 7 versus a tier 9, kind of a large gap. Not as large as 6 versus 8, however. And right here, I guess Never Aim saying we have to make something happen, looking to try and push with Minnow over here. The enemy team evening it up, looking like that one-line push was the good call, getting them that exact flank position the enemy team needed. And it is now 3-4. Minnow and Never Aim having to do something to make up this difference. And it looked like an enemy tank destroyer spotted way over there. Never Aim trying to figure out exactly where it is. Takes a blind shot because why not? He knew he was going to be reloaded in time before he would have to engage anything directly, and a blind fire is better than, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? It's that mentality. It's definitely trying to just do what you can with the with the intel and the positioning you have in this game. 3-5, and it's definitely getting a little bit dicey. 3-6, and it's looking like, oh, the enemy team has managed to take kill, and Minnow definitely probably in a bit of a rough spot here, and Never Aim doing his best to support his ally. But like I said, right now, I think that's that AMX. That looks like that tier 7 AMX M4. Like I said, tier 7 versus tier 9. It is definitely a mismatch, and this IS-8 is more than capable of eliminating that tier 7 vehicle. Yes, that is going to be the AMX M4. And he's backing off. He knows enough to know when he's outmatched. 3-7, however, and the enemy team is definitely pushing in hard, but making up for a bit of that gap. Friendly T-30 eliminating an IS-8, no small feat. And that Centurion 1 as well getting eliminated, a tier 8 getting taken out. The gap slowly closing 5-7. Minnow looking like he's falling back, trying to watch their flank, as well as leave it to Never Aim to take out this enemy tier 7. he will do just that. Looks like a tier 9 moving in. 5120 will be able to take out that Carnarvon pretty easily if he engages directly. There we go. Like I said, the Carnarvon not really going to be much of a match for that. And that 5120 completely oblivious to Never Aim here, already switching targets a bit too quickly in order to try and do something else. I'm not sure. It looked like he was aiming up at the hill. Maybe, I'm not sure what that AMX 5120 was possibly looking at. Maybe thinking he was going to get a shot on that T-34. But still, the gap closing ever slightly here. Centurion taking out that Type 61, another tier 9 getting eliminated, and the gap closing so very slowly here. An enemy IS-3 on the hill trying to get down shots, drop shots, whatever you want to call them, on this team here, and probably going to get himself killed for it. Still, the enemy team will have a lead 7-9 even after this IS-3 gets eliminated. 8-9 looking at the wrong target, and unfortunately Never Aim taking the snapshot he had to take and getting nothing but a critical hit on the tracks. Enemy 5120 still alive. I will say this much: Never Aim's team does have the tank advantage. They have more tier 9 vehicles. The enemy team is strong in tier 8s and has quite a few tier 7s, which can be a factor, but still, Minnow and Never Aim's team definitely having the more punch per tank at this point. And there's that. I'm not sure what that tank destroyer is. Let me see if I can actually view that. That looks like it is the SU-152. Definitely not something to be overly concerned with, but still, it can hurt. One thing Never Aim does have going for him at this point, though, is the fact that he still has the majority of his hit points, unlike Minnow. Minnow is hurting hard for hit points. The enemy team could sneeze on him and he would die. He's got to be very cautious and do his best to stay alive, because he still has a lot of damage in his clips. He can still do a lot of damage to this enemy team, but he cannot take a hit. And this enemy 5120 barely surviving, so it is looking like Minnow here possibly going to be trying to take the hit, the shot, and he will miss, unfortunately. Enemy tank destroyer, but I'm assuming it was probably that Yog Panther or maybe the T-28 prototype sitting on the base. It's hard to tell. It didn't seem like a heavy bounce. It definitely felt like a lighter tank destroyer possibly sitting that far back, and it looks like enemy IS-3, I believe that is. That's probably the IS-3, yes. Again, like I said, my vision's still on the recovery, so I'm going to have to squint and maybe hazard guesses here and there on what tanks are what, but I can definitely see well enough to where if I see their outline, I can definitely tell what they are. Just the fine print I can't read. And surprisingly, enemy tank destroyer up on the hill. He might, that's the Yog Panther. He might get the drop on Minnow, managing to take him out, but we'll see if that actually ends up being the case. AMX 5120 having completely repositioned, managing to kill that T-25-2, who has surprisingly survived as long as he has. I was completely wrong in calling him dead at the beginning of the match, which, I mean, I don't know if that's due to the enemy's lack of skill or just his amount of sheer luck. Maybe he figured it out some part way through, but Never Aim right here, definitely in a tough spot. He's got 2 enemy tanks on his front, 1 enemy tank on the side, and that 5120, he could have moved in there and possibly got a lot more damage off. And I guess it was the IS-3 who hit him. So the T-59, the Type 59, calling Never Aim a hacker. What? So apparently very upset about his demise, somehow disbelieving that there's a hatch on top of the Type 59 that can be penned for damage. And this Yog Panther trying to get a little bit tricky here, coming down off the ridge, trying to get a flank position. He might be able to kill Minnow, and both of them are in quite dangerous territory. The 5120 definitely has to eliminate his adversary first, but that Yog Panther definitely doing it for him. And right now, Never Aim in a tight spot right here. He's going to be fighting for his life, and he's only got his Ally T-30 left. It is a 5-tank gap, and now only a 4-tank gap. But this enemy IS-3, I'm wondering where this enemy 5120 is right now. He completely is missing his opportunity to take him out. He might be clipping, unfortunately. And it looks like Never Aim might be a little bit stuck. No, he can get out, and there's that 5120, but he might be a bit too late to the party, missing a shot that he very desperately needed to connect. And the friendly T-30 managing to take him out. So, friendly tank destroyer support is very useful. That friendly T-30 definitely in just the right position to help out. And it looks like that Yog Panther 2, I'm guessing, is what that is. No, that's a Ferdinand. And they're both tier 8 German tank destroyers. I'm close enough. But unfortunately, he only got a track shot, and Never Aim will be reloaded first, managing to get him taken out. So that 5-tank gap, only a 1-tank gap, and the enemy team really having no hard-hitting tanks left. That T-28 prototype, their best chance of victory at this point. I believe that friendly T-30 possibly at full health? No, approximately half health from what I can gather. And this enemy IS-2 trying to push up the center, I guess get spots for his T-28 prototype ally. But he's really not going to be able to do much. Ooh, a surprising ricochet right there. And it looks like he will actually be a lot more effective than I previously gave him credit for, managing to get a good solid hit off on that friendly T-30. And right now, it still could go either way. NeverAim doesn't have that much health, neither does his ally T-30, and they've both got to play cautiously. I don't think that enemy T-28 prototype has been spotted once, and this IS-2 might just get this kill shot on this friendly T-30 that NeverAim is so desperately relying on for fire support, but I don't think the IS-2 actually has any sort of spotting on him. And I guess I'm wrong. He's at the very least blind firing, and that T-30 definitely alive enough. He's got enough hit points to where he's not overly concerned about surviving. This enemy IS-2 getting a little bit too ballsy for his own good. And will he bounce her? Yes, he will. Like I said, the IS-8 definitely has a bit of bouncy armor. It's not super reliable in the hull, but it will bounce from time to time. And it's one of those tanks where you do actually not want to angle your armor because you're actually flattening out those slants. It's got that pike front, that angled armor where you're best off charging the enemy. And the T-30 managing to get the kill on that IS-2. So it's pretty much evened up at this point. 2 tanks to 2 tanks left. And it really could go either way. I mean, granted, the enemy team is at a tank disadvantage because both of the tanks on NeverAim's team are Tier 9 versus a Tier 8 and a Tier 7. I believe it's that SU-152, yes it is, who was previously spotted down towards the water, but where he is now, they can't really tell. He's probably still down roughly in the water region. He might have fallen back to base to give a general perspective, but where that T-28 prototype is, probably on the hill overlooking their cap. And I don't mean Central Hill. Oh, no, it looks like he might have pushed up, or is that the SU? I cannot read that, unfortunately. It's hard to say. Hold on. I can almost read it. I'm squinting, and it looks like a T-28 prototype, though, based on... Nope, I'm wrong. Again, I can't see that great. Please forgive me. I'm trying to be productive and not terrible at the same time. But it is going to be that T-28. He's trying to abuse the one fact that his tank destroyer does have a turret. Double bounce. Both of them managing to ricochet off. And that SU-152 trying to get a little bit sneaky. Like I said, he was probably still down by the water. SU-152 not really known for its maneuverability. Friendly T-30 probably going to have a shot off on that. Although it could go either way based on how low of health that T-30 has. That SU-152. If he was being... It's hard to say. He could be using the big gun with heat rounds. He could be using, the derp. Or he could be using that 122 with the 390 average damage, 175 pen, but rapid rate of fire. There we go. NeverAim aiming for the cheeks of that turret, the most vulnerable spot. And it looks like that SU-152 barely just missing his chance to kill that T-30. Low rolling just enough to where that T-30 is still alive. And that T-30 might be able to finish him off. NeverAim trying to get the flank on this T-28 prototype, very wisely so. And it's hard to say. Okay, so for the record, the T-28 prototype does not have 360-degree turret rotation. If he can just get on his backside, he will have a significant advantage. No matter how hard that T-28 prototype tries to turn his turret, he will not be able to turn it enough. So right here, just realizing how bad of a spot he is in, he's trying to turn both his tank and his turret. A very good move. You should always do that. I cannot tell you the number of players I see only turning their turret. It is a very poor call. But right here, T-28 prototype bouncing, and for the record as well, NeverAim outside the range of the one-shot kill. 507 health is just outside the high roll range of a T-28 prototype, even using the 400 damage gun. So right here, it looks like he will get the kill shot. It's T-30 very desperately clinging to life. But it's kind of a standoff at this point. The SU-152 is a one-shot for the T-30. The T-30 is a one-shot for the SU-152. 152 managing to get the kill, and NeverAim having just a few rounds left in the magazine. He's down to his last 2 high-explosive clips, and he's got to kill this SU-152, who is using the 122 faster reloading 175 pen gun. Why do I know this? Because I played it, and he's trying to kill it with high-explosive. Down to the last round, and Well, he's probably going to get it, because let's face it, High Explosive is very good at getting damage, but he might die here. Oh, thank goodness, only a track shot, no damage dealt, and barely surviving. What a nail biter. He must have been shaking in his seat just from the adrenaline. He knew it was up to him, and he nailed it. Just very well played, and just absolutely abusing the maneuverability of the IS-8. Like you said, you got to play a bit like a medium. You got to be able to be flexible with it, drive it around the map, and he did just that. Barely surviving with almost no health. And the enemy team, very well fought by both sides. Both team had players who made mistakes, obviously, but just a very action-packed match. But let's go see those post-game stats and see the exact damage that he did. Well, of course, we knew he was going to get Mastery Badge Ace Tanker. I mean, after that amazing performance, who would have doubted? He did get Faden's medal for that last kill with the last shell in his tank. I mean, just barely pulling it off by the skin of his teeth, firing literally everything he had, every last shell out of his tank. Just what are the chances of that happening? Is just very slim, very slim. And he wasn't wasting shots intentionally either to get that. He made every shell count for the most it could do. Bradley Walters for the number of kills he got. And high caliber, obviously. Top gun, that's going to come with Bradley Walters. And kind of surprisingly, Steel Wall. But if you're ever going to get Steel Wall, it's going to be when it's maximum tier 9 with a lot of tier 7s and 8s. So, team score though. Managing to dish out 8 kills with over 7,400 points of damage. And just absolutely wrecking that enemy team. Who was the most effective on their team in terms of damage? Well, that 5120, definitely no joke. The Type 61, also doing a significant amount. Their IS-8, also fairly effective, so definitely Never Aim being the carrier for his team. And his Minnow, his buddy there, no pushover either. They were both top 3, no matter how you look at it in terms of damage or experience, however you're going to gauge effectiveness. So, but, I mean, for his team, his T-28, almost utterly useless, and same with a Carnarvon. Unfortunately, you get those matches, but he more than made up for it in his performance. I mean, it's just absolutely mind-boggling, and he earned every single medal he got. Still, earning quite a bit of experience and credits there. I mean, earning over 100,000 credits total and netting over 66,000. That is well earned. Earning 2,240 experience without any ×2 multipliers. He did fortunately get his ×2 multiplier, so that was a great payout of experience. But overall, very well done by him, and just showing that an IS-8, some people have said they are terrible tanks. And I would present them this gameplay saying otherwise. I mean, you could make the argument, well, it was tier 7, and well, lowest tier was tier 7, and there was a lot of tier 7 and 8s, and so it was kind of stacked in his favor. But at the same time, I mean, there's a couple of good IS-8 games I've had as well, where the tank really does shine. It's all about how you play it. So, I mean, really, I think the IS-8 is great. It's a good introduction to the IS-7. You don't really rely on your armor too much, but you kind of get used to having some speed. They take away some of that speed with the IS-7, or rather, maneuverability. You still have speed with the IS-7, especially downhill, but not so much the maneuverability. And you're given armor instead. So it's kind of a trade-off. It's all about how you want to play it, but I think both IS-8 and IS-7, very good, solid tanks. And, yeah, very well played. I've said it, and I don't know how else to say it. Still, 30 shots taken, 27 direct hits. He got splash damage on one of those. That's a bit surprising, but okay, splash damage, 22 pens. So overall, very well played. A lot of distance driven. Like I said, using that maneuverability and speed to his advantage. But very, very good game. And if you like this video, click that like button. If you want to see more, subscribe. If you've got a replay, be sure to check the description below for instructions on how to submit. And if you got comments or suggestions on how to make my channel or videos better, please put them in the comment section below. It's what it's there for. But until next time, this has been Spang, and I am signing off. Yeah!